Hello everybody. I've got the live stream up and running, so I should be able to see any comments that come through. I am ready to go for the evening. Welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. I am doing my Mystery Box Makes series tonight, and that is where I open up a warehouse box of supplies from a craft business, and I have no idea what's in the box. I reach in without peeking as best I can and pull out 3 items and put them to use. I have vetoed one of the 3 items once or twice before, so I try not to do that, but it could happen. That has happened when I've had a repeat of something from a previous video. I can't quite remember the other situation, but anyway, that could happen. But for the most part, I really try to use what's in the box, including the oddest thing I had, and you will probably hear this story multiple times if you stick with this series, but I had gotten a little Tim Holtz ceramic Christmas mug, and it had all the texture of Santa's face on there in 3D, and I used that to make a hot wax seal. So that's been the oddest thing I've gotten out of my mystery box. Oh, I see Lynn has popped in. Hello, Lynn. Good evening to you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. All right, I'm just going to give people a minute or two to jump in. I do have a picker wheel on my other screen that I will spin the wheel to see what we'll be working with tonight. Like I said, I have the mystery box. I also have a pack of mystery scrapbook paper. I know it's all from Simple Stories, but what specific papers are a mystery? And then I have a pack of 12 by 12 stencils as well. Those are the things that we have to work with on our mystery wheel. So let's go ahead and head over there. Let me find the right screen. It is. I moved some things around. I wonder if that one would do it. That's not the right one. Okay, for some reason it's not working. Let me see if I can rearrange some things here. I'm going to put you back on hold for just a moment, and I'm going to try moving some things around. So give me a sec. All right, that did not work either. Okay, I will go back to my face, and I do have the picker off of there. I have no idea why it isn't working. I've got multiple ways to connect to things, and I can't get it to work. So trust me, over there is a picker wheel, and I'm gonna go ahead and start spinning to see what we are working with tonight. And while this spins, oh, I can hear it. Can you hear it spinning? Okay, the first item is from our big box, so I'm going to just make a note of that. I try to keep these streams to about an hour, but now that I've changed the time, I will go tonight for up to about an hour and a half. Okay, I'm spinning for the second choice, and it looks like it's going to be the big box again. And we'll give it one more spin. And it looks like we might get some pattern paper tonight. I see Michelle has popped in. Hello, Michelle. All right, so the third pick was the pattern paper. And I will reach up and get those things in a minute. Just going to take care of a little bit of business stuff before I move on to the box. I set up the live streams for 2026, and I thought I had carefully checked the dates, but I did not. I made a mistake anyway. So these live streams, I wrote it down. These live streams moving forward will be on the third Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So the next one will be in February on the 18th. So hopefully I did not make a mistake again in those dates. I tried to quadruple check this time. So that is the schedule moving forward with these. And I will also try and get that connection to my other screen fixed in the meantime as well. So I'm going to pull down my box. You may hear my cats because they think it's dinner time, but it's not dinner time yet. So I may have to get up and chew them away or something. All right, let me grab my box. Okay, so we've got the big box and the pattern paper. So I'm glad to have you here, Michelle. And Lynn, I see that you said you can hear. Oh, you were talking about the spinning. Okay, gotcha. I just wanted to make sure my audio is okay. All right, I am going to switch screens to my overhead. Oh, wait, wrong one. Overhead with me in the corner. There we go. So many choices. I will start with the paper since it's here on top, and I'm going to reach in and pull this out and see what we've got. Like I said, I know it's all simple stories, which you can see right there, but I don't know what collection or what particular paper. And again, I try not to look. And I feel like that's just one piece. Oh, that is pretty. I love simple stories. That is gorgeous. Is this just one piece? I think I got two pieces, so I'm gonna try and tuck this one under. Oh, I saw it. It'll be a sneaky one for another future date. There we go. That book print is pretty. Oh, and there's some lovely florals. Okay, we'll see what else comes out of the box, because sometimes there is a huge mishmash of stuff. So, and it could be a very bad match. So we might get some Christmas stuff to go with these books and florals. Who knows what's going to be in here? All right. I can feel what's in here, but I try not to let that influence me. I try to just grab the first thing that I can touch. And this one feels like it could be a stencil. Indeed, we've got some stencils. Oh, and these are more florals. Maybe a pumpkin in there. We have nothing to go on, so I have no idea. It definitely looks like a layering stencil. Okay. Don't know what we're gonna get with that one. And then item number 3 feels like, now I thought I was gonna say die, but it's flexible. Feels like maybe more paper of some sort. Foil transfer cards. Okay, I do have foil, and we have more flowers, so we are gonna be working with a flower theme tonight. Okay, I do have foil that will work with these. Transfer cards are usually the laminator foil. Am I making a card or project? Okay, so this box came from, I will answer all your questions there, Michelle. This box came from Simon Says Stamp, which is online craft store. They do these mystery boxes once a year around Black Friday. This box was from 2023, I believe. Is that correct? Either 23 or 24, because I used this box all through last year. So if I bought it in 24, then I used it all through 25. I don't think I got this box before that, but I've done this series in the past with other boxes. This box was super and so I didn't need to buy a new one last Black Friday. And I watched some other people's unboxing videos from their boxes from 2025's Black Friday, and they weren't nearly as jam-packed. So something changed about their warehouse boxes, and I was not impressed. This one, however, has been fantastic, and I've done this company's boxes in the past. I've been doing this series 4-ish years. My channel's about 5 years old, and I did start this one early on, so something like that. Yeah, grab box. So this is a mystery box of supplies. So whenever companies have overstock or discontinued items, they often do grab bags. So in the fall, I often will post a list of companies that I follow that are offering various grab boxes, bags, or whatever around Black Friday. Often they'll come out a little bit earlier. And then if you're interested in something like this, you can check that post when I put it up. So yes, these are all mystery supplies. What am I making? So it depends on what I pull out. I do have a piece of scrapbook paper, so that often lends me to do a scrapbook layout. However, I am having an idea because these cards are probably pretty small. Let's go ahead and open these up. Let me get this box out of the way. Okay, because these are, that might be loud on the mic, but it is what it is. So these cards are printed with toner on them, and that will work to stick a toner activated foil through a laminator machine. And these ones are all tulips, which is definitely a different florals than what we've got over here. So I may make a card, and what I'm thinking is that I might either cut this whole thing out of a circle and then add some circle support to the side of it for a card, and then we'll make another layer with our stencils and add, and probably cut that down as well. We could also use this as a background for a card and just cut it into a card front size. But what I'm going to do at this point, I want to get my laminating machine heating up and grab some foil, which is on the shelf behind me. And then I want to play with the stencil so we can see what we've got with this stencil. It looks like there's a pumpkin in here, so this looks like something in an autumn theme. However, we can change the color scheme with stencils to be whatever we want, and we might be able to pick and choose parts of the stencil to use. So I will go ahead and open this up, and I will grab some paper. I'm just going to start with some scratch paper to play with that. And let me get, okay, whoop, knock something over. So here's my laminating machine. I will plug it in and heat it up behind me. Okay, my laminating machine isn't the best. It's kind of a cheapy model from Amazon, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it works and when it doesn't, I cannot figure out. So we will do our best, but because we have multiples of these, I could just leave it black and white and do some coloring with some watercolor or markers or something like that. But we will try foiling it. Let's see what we've got in terms of color. So this is going to set our color palette for us. I do have a bit of rainbow, but I think that's a little much. I do like the aqua color in the background. We could go with blues. Or how about green? Ooh, this is a green iridescent. So I keep all of my toner foils in this little, it's just a plastic tub from the kitchen. And I keep them in their original tubes. I happen to like the Decofoil brand for no particular reason. I just kind of started with these, and so I've just stuck with them because I like them fine. And I like that they're convenient in the tube, and it holds the scraps because I can wrap up the scraps and stick them back in there without any problems. And so let's see what kind of scraps I have in here. I do like this green because it has some other color tones to it. which can kind of play in with some of the other tones in the paper. The green is a little bit more limey vibrant than some of these colors, but I'm gonna go with it. Okay, so you can see I have some scraps in here. That piece will be big enough for what we need. And I will set everything else off to the side. So how are you guys doing tonight? Is everybody relaxing for the evening? I know my cats finally left me alone. They got the hint that I was not going to feed them yet because it's not dinner time. So I've got that out of the way. All right, so I'm going to cut this down a little bit because it doesn't need to be that big. And if you cut your foil down, I don't know, do you guys have foiling to you, either a hot foil machine or do you use toner foil? I'm curious because I do a foiled card, or at least in 2025 I did a hot foiling card project every month here on my channel, and I can't say that those have been the most popular videos, so I'm curious what people have or don't have out there, because I never know what's going on in everybody's craft rooms. All right, so that's ready to go. This I'm still thinking about. I was gonna grab that piece. Okay, that is definitely a pumpkin. This makes me wonder if it's some kind of spray. Lynn has no foiling available. Yeah, I debated for a long time if I was gonna foil or not, and I kind of just decided to do it. And you know, I'm not sure, it hasn't been working out great, but that's a story for another day. Let's see. This has some kind of banner maybe, or it's a, oh, there are some markings on the stencil. Okay, I've got them upside down. Can you see those markings there? This divides the stencil into different layers. So it could be that this is 3 separate layered stencils, possibly. This could be layer 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's try this one because I think that's what's going on. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see that line here that's dividing the stencil. So I think this is a 3-part stencil all on one carrier sheet. So I'm going to try that and see what we get. I'm also going to mark my stencil. I mark it and then I count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can wipe away most of that. And then that helps the stencil number or brand or whatever it is show up. And that just happens to be the code number. But I will do the same thing with, this is a permanent marker. It's not a Sharpie brand, but it's just like a Sharpie permanent marker. And I'm just going to mark over that. I'm not even going to wipe it away because that's a divider line anyway, so it's just fine if it's nice and stark so we can see everything. All right, alcohol will take any of this stuff off if you ever want to clean it up. Just don't clean your stencil with alcohol if you want to leave it, otherwise you'll have to redo it. Most of the time I just use water to clean my stencils. Okay, let me grab that scrap of paper. Okay, I have an off-white creamy color, or I have a stark white. Do you guys have a preference? I'm kind of thinking the creamy color kind of fits in a little bit with the yellow flowers. So I don't know. Let me know if you have an opinion. I'll grab some ink colors in the meantime. We have a very baby pink here. We have definitely more of a, I don't know, fuchsia-y red, and then a medium pink, this yellow, we got some blue. Let's see, In terms of our flowers, that looks like an oak leaf. This looks like it could be a sunflower, but I'm gonna do it. Let's go with a pink for this one. And then I'll grab some green for the leaves, and we'll see if we can get close to this green maybe. That's a very vibrant green. This is another very vibrant yellowy green. And then maybe this one, we can add some stenciling layers. I just bought some new stencil brushes, so I should be able to, nope, not that one. Let's go ahead and use this one, and we'll use that one. And then as for the pink, I'm gonna pull out my swatch book and look at my pinks. There's my yellows. Pinks should be all the way in the front. Oranges. All right, pinks. Here we go. Okay, that is too dusty. Gina K says it's Dusty Rose, but that looks pretty good. Wild Berry. If we use Wild Berry, I'm off screen. If we use Wild Berry with a very light hand, it could blend in with that. And now I'm thinking, you know, I may want to just use the leaves from this and cut them out, fussy cut them out. So that's a possibility, because the tulip isn't really fitting the vibe of everything else. Okay, I'm gonna go with Wild Berry, and then we'll just go with Wild Berry. Okay. Okay, C9 is one of my favorite ink companies. Again, I just kind of found them at one point, and I was happening to be looking for new inks, and they just kind of had a vibe that clicked with me, so that's why. No other reason. They do have foam pads instead of felt pads, and I kind of prefer those for most things. The ink releases a lot easier from the foam pads, but the foam pads don't work as well for certain techniques, so that's the caveat with that. All right, I am going to grab another blending brush for that. Just gonna get out a little bit of that. Okay, I think the brushes are ready to go. What am I looking for? I know what I'm looking for. This is my very fancy ink blending holder. This is just a silicone mat cut down from the kitchen, and because of its kind of tacky properties, it helps hold the ink pads in place without me having to buy a specialty product for that. All right, let's see. I got a cream vote. Okay, sure. I like the cream too, so I'll go with that. Let's pull out this stencil and see what we've got going on. There is something, I don't know if I can get it. There's something tiny there that I have no idea what it is. That I'm pretty sure is leaves. So I'm gonna kind of start in the middle of this paper, and that will give me some room to possibly die cut it out depending on what we find. I am not going to ink blend on top of that. I am going to get a little bit of tape to help hold things down. Okay. Lining up stencils, there's all kinds of tricks for lining up stencils. I think because I have no idea what this stencil is, I'm just going to totally freehand it right now. I like to get my blending brush inked up and kind of blend it in on the lid so it hits any of those hot spots. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit more tape down here because I have the feeling I might drag it towards me some, and I want to keep this background as neat as possible to give me more options. All right, starting on the stencil itself. I should have marked off the leaves. That's okay, that's okay. I'll do it now, and it won't be too much. All right, I'm gonna come in and just kind of darken up the very tips of this flower to give it a little more definition. And I could use a smaller blending brush for this, but if you just kind of use the tip and slide it onto the stencil, that usually does the job. Okay, that's that layer. Now, tape does not like to stick to ink. I'm going to wipe off most of that ink. And then I will mask off this side. That might be all we need of the wild berry. Okay, I'm going to start with my lightest color so that I can add depth to these leaves. And I will use a brand new brush for the light color. Because it's brand new, I need to make sure I get it well saturated. And then I'm going to start from the base and work my way up. Because there was a little pink in there, green plus pink kind of equals brown. So that's okay. I think once we have everything else going on in the card, it won't be as noticeable. And I'm going to come in with darker greens over that, which will likely kind of blend it in even more. And while I am inking, I will let you know, let's see, Michelle heard my spiel last live that I have a new Facebook group set up, so I will have photo albums set up for various projects that I do on the channel. And if you ever want to share anything, you are free to post into those photo albums. The Facebook group is really quiet right now because I'm still trying to get the word out, but hopefully it'll get busier as life moves along. In terms of YouTube channels, I'm pretty small, so I just keep going, keep doing my thing. All right, let's bring in, you know, I'm not sure I'm gonna want a third color. Let's just go ahead and work with 2 colors. And then I'm gonna add this darker color just to the base and then maybe up and around the edge a little bit. And I will probably get some of this color blended into some of the other spots just by oopsies, but it'll all look good in the end. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, oh, did you finish your card, Michelle? You can get it into, I posted all of the samples from the live last week. And for anybody who's watching on replay, I do 2 live streams a month now. This one is the Mystery Box Make series, which is unplanned, totally off the cuff. And then the other one I'm doing is a craft along, which is the Advent All Year series. And while I use the Spellbinders Advent Calendar products, you can substitute anything from your own stash if you don't already have those products, and join me for that live stream as well. And that live stream is on the 4th Friday of every month at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And the next one of those will be February 27th. So if you want to join me for that, that is more of a planned craft along. And I do have a printable that you can download to gather supplies if you need something if you want to join along for the craft along. All right, I have no idea what this little thing is. So I'm going to hit it with green and we're going to find out. I don't know, it looks like maybe it could be berries, maybe it could be some kind of stem. I have no idea. All right, so that is layer 1. Now, if this is doing what I think it's doing, I feel like it should line up somehow. Maybe that's the center of the flower. Okay, I'm gonna look at these other layers. Okay, this definitely looks like a flower center. And it's adding another spray of leaves. Oh, this matches up with that bit of the flower. Then this leaf tucks into that groove. And then these, okay, these things are lining up. So I am going with that. Oh boy, this is funny. Do I want to just do that a darker color? I think so. This is going to be just a very layered flower with no specific center, more like a mum or something like that, where you can just see petals and petals and petals instead of a specific flower center. Okay, I do want a little piece of tape to mark off this leaf. I'll come back in. Okay. So I don't know how well everybody has experience with stenciling, but I like to use the same color and just layer up the same color over the top because it'll get darker and darker, and you can get multiple shades out of one ink pad. So that is part of what I like to do when I'm using stencils. All right, again, let's clean that. And then I will mark that off. And then we'll use our greens. Maybe this is where I can come in with a third green, since it is a different leaf shape. It can be its own shade of green. And if we're going to do that, let me clean up my brush just a little bit. I just use rags and a little bit of water sprayed on the rag, not on the brush, because that makes the bristles too soggy and it will make your ink bleed. So let's see. Yeah, that's a nice green. More of a kind of chartreusey green. Okay, and I will use this same color to do that edge trick that we did on the flower, just to give it a little dimension around the edges. Okay, and then this is the same leaf, so I will go back to my original greens and do that set of leaves also. You gonna join me on the 27th, Michelle? That's awesome. Because I am a small channel, there haven't been a lot of people on my live streams, so that's okay. It kind of was a little less nerve-wracking when I started live streaming. I think that was last year I started, so it kind of gave me a little bit of ease, helped myself ease into the idea of live streaming. My craft room moved up to this space middle of last year because I used to be in the basement and I was right next to the furnace, so the furnace would come on and be super loud in the background. And then my husband, who works from home, he's worked from home most of his life, his office was on the other side of the furnace, and so I couldn't get any of his work phone calls on my audio, so I wasn't able to do a lot of live streaming. I tried and then I gave up because it was too much to work around. But because I moved up here middle of last year, I think it was last summer, this has been able to get me a good monitor to set up and use for seeing all the moving parts, and then quiet audio so I can do it without getting a lot of distracting background noise. So I'm still on the newer end of live streaming. I'm enjoying it though. I'm enjoying it. I do get pretty nervous about things, but you never know if you don't try, right? You gotta try the things. All right, so that is that one. Okay, so we got that layer figured out. We're gonna go back. Oh, that's looking pretty. We're gonna go back to this middle layer and see what is happening with this. This leaf has a big bump right there, which makes me think it needs to nestle around something else. No, it's not going to go that way. So let's see, we started off this way. Sometimes if you just slide a layering stencil down, then you get the next layer. I don't use a lot of Simon Says products, so I'm not sure how they do their layers. That kind of seems to be the case. Okay, so if I start this way, if I slide it that way, will it layer up to make some kind of sense? Okay. This notched in against the flower, this notched in against this leaf, and this notched in against that little cluster of berries or whatever it is. So this makes me wonder if the other stencils also work with this one. I don't know, because this is kind of a wide spray. We'll just finish inking these things and see how it goes. Okay, I'm gonna start with this color because I inked this little cluster of stuff with this color just in the darkest hand I could use. And then this leaf is another one of these kind of oak style leaves, and I did that one with this color. So we will get that one. I just did the whole thing and then I came back and hit the edges with darker. Okay, so now we have a third or possibly fourth leaf style up there. I'm gonna figure out what colors of greens I want to do for that. Okay, that one's done. And let's see, maybe we'll mix these two. I will do this one all over and then I'll come back on the edges with the darker one. Let's see how that looks. When I'm doing my leaves, I do like to start at the base and work my way out towards the tips, because then any brush strokes that you notice are going to flow along what would be the veins of the leaves. So that's kind of how I approach stenciling leaves. And then that is not the right color brush. Okay, I want to come in carefully with this one so that I don't overwhelm things. Just a little bit, because we can always add color, but you can't take it away. So I'm just going to come in a little bit on the tips and then add a little bit more if I need to. Okay, that's looking pretty good. All right, here is our floral spray. Okay, now I just, out of curiosity, how are we doing on time? We're doing okay. Out of curiosity, I really don't think these interact with each other, but this one has the same same leaf shape. Maybe they just reused that same leaf shape, because that is definitely a pumpkin. But see, these are the same floral shapes as well. We could fill in a little bit extra. Okay, I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind as an option. I just don't want to try and do too many things in the time frame that we have. And I will clean this up now so I don't get inky everywhere. All right, that'll do. Now, if we pull back our pattern paper, I set all the ink aside so those, I don't want to get inky everywhere with my brushes. I am definitely a very messy crafter, and I tend to spill a lot of things and set things down into ink pads and all of that good stuff. So on the lives, I try to do a little more cleaning than I do when I'm by myself. All right, this pink is a little brighter than that pink for sure. We could possibly tone it down if I put another color of pink over the top of it, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to let it go. All right, let's turn to our hot foiling, because the hot foil machine should be hot by now, and I want to make sure that we get all these moving parts. So I am really thinking about just foiling these parts of all of the flowers and then using them as sprays to come out of our focal cluster. So I might cut this into a circle and use this pattern paper as the background layer for the card. That's what I'm thinking right now. Let's make sure this works. Before we move on, I'm gonna go ahead and trim this down a little bit more. And then we've got our other paper there. That way we can get as many leaves out of this foil as we can. Okay, the laminating machine needs a carrier pouch to put this thing through, and I just use parchment paper. Let me see if I have a sheet that is clean enough, because I also use parchment paper for mixed media. Okay, this one will work. So I'm going to stick this in here with the foil into the fold of the parchment, and then this will go into the hot foil machine this way. Okay, while that's going, I'm gonna peek at you. I'm gonna put my inks away and my blending brushes away, because I've already stuck my fingers in them. Okay, that is almost done. I'm gonna wipe my hands down because I did cleanest part of my cloth. I did stick my fingers in the ink. Okay. All right, let's see how we did. You can kind of see the shape of where it looks like the foil stuck to the toner. So I think it's working. Let's go ahead and peel. There we go. And you can see the sparkle and shine in that. So yes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do all 4 of these, and then I will fussy cut them, and we'll use them as accents instead of using the whole tulip bulb. And then at some point in the future, actually, I'll probably stick, I have a little paper bag next to me, and any parts and pieces that don't use when I'm creating videos, I stick in that bag and then I donate it to. I've had a mom who is kind of crafty but low budget pick up a bag of scraps from me, and I've had some families with kids just pick up a bag of scraps for fun, crafty time with the kids. So I usually give it away on our neighborhood group. But one idea that I'm thinking about is it would be pretty if these were fussy cut, and then let me go ahead and do that while we're waiting on the foil. If these were fussy cut out, and then you could create a circle of kind of like this, where you're creating a circle of these. I do another project every year where I make between 30 and 40 cards, and I send them to a senior center because I have a friend who used to be the meal planner for the senior center, and they would, for anybody who was homebound and getting meals delivered, they would get an Easter card from me from their meal delivery. So I do that every year, and I think I will save these and foil these and create at least one Easter card to start that project. All right, so far so good. And let's see, that one's ready. These two both need some foil. I like to let it cool just a minute because then the toner has time to re-solidify. So toner is just microplastics, and it melts in the laminator, and that's what the foil sticks to, is that melty plastic. So if you let it cool down, then it has time to re-solidify and then grab on to the foil. So I will start sending this one through. I'm happy this is working because I have had some toner pieces that haven't worked, and like I said, I just don't know why. Okay, let's go ahead and reveal this one. I can get my fingernail under there. And yes, it is lovely. I try to save these kinds of things as well, and I've done various techniques with them, but I hate throwing things away. So I tend to collect odd bits and pieces, or now that I'm doing that donation bag, I will be able to put stuff in there and not feel bad about having to throw things away, because even some kid will enjoy the shiny the shiny floral stuff and glue it to something and have a good time making some art. So then we all get some fun out of these products. All right, those I'm going to set aside. I think this one's done. Well, that looks good. Oh, I didn't let it cool off, but it's okay. Oh, I did lose, okay. I did lose a little piece right there, but I will just tuck that under something else and it won't be an issue. Okay. Okay, I'm going to make do with this piece. Okay, while that one is foiling, let me go ahead and grab a card base and we can start cutting our layers. I have a card base already. Oh, no I don't. This one is damaged. Although we're using the cream cardstock, let's grab, I've got some cream that I like over that way. I'm gonna go grab that. Nope, that's not it. Okay, it is not over there. Let me double check, because I've been moving some things around and I've moved them back and forth a couple of times. There we go. Okay. I like my trimmer because it has scoring and cutting on the same trimmer, because I like to score my card bases. I used to just fold them by hand. I got tired of the corners not quite meeting, and I started using the scoring tool. All right, let's cut this down. See, if I fussy cut this or turn it into a circle, let me grab a die. Oops. Here we go. Thought I would have to look deeper for that. Let's figure out which. Okay, that will cut off some of the image, but I still don't know what this little thing is. So maybe it doesn't matter too much. And this would give us a space to add a sentiment. Okay, let's see what the next size up would look like. Yeah, I think that's a little too much kind of dead space around, so I'm going to use that size. And our last foil, I will run this through the die cut machine, and I will turn off my mic for a moment because the die cut machine is loud. Let's see. So yes, Lynn said that little piece off to the side may be a flower bud. It could be. If I had colored it in a different color, it might be a flower bud. I'll definitely have to play with these stencils a little bit more. And I like stencils a lot, and I like this flower a lot. So I will likely keep, I don't always keep the things that come out of that box because you never know what they are, but I think I will end up keeping this one, and I'll have to play with it to see if I can make it make complete sense to me. All right, so moving parts and pieces. Let's cut this down so we can get the rest of this paper out of the way. So I am going to cut it down by 1/4 inch to give a nice border around the edge. So we've got, which way do we want the flowers to go? Definitely that way. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna leave this as a landscape card. So I will cut 4 inches this way and 5 1/4 inches this way. And that will give us a background with a border. So that's looking pretty all by itself. I like to ink edges just to help things pop a little bit. So I am going to ink my edges. And this is one of the things I like about foam pads, is that they're so squishy that you can just tap your edges into the pad and it will add some ink without bleeding over too much or having to swipe it like some people do. with the older style of ink pads. And I think I will, for consistency, I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And with circles, it's kind of fun because you can just roll it along the ink pad and then kind of check it against a contrasting color to see if you have enough detail, and you can see the detail. So I like that. Let's start gluing. We're doing okay with time. I gotta fussy cut out those those leaves over there still and figure out how to arrange those, but we're doing okay with time. Oh, I need a sentiment too. I will have to grab a sentiment. You know, I still have my Spellbinders stash right here from the Advent series, so I can probably grab a sentiment out of there. I know I want to pop this up on foam, and then the question is, do I want to tuck these completely underneath my floral circle, or do I want to make some slits so that they can slide underneath this flower and look like they have that three-dimensional shape to them? So we'll figure that out after I do some fussy cutting, which what's kind of nice about these lines is they're nice and wide so that I can cut on the foil a little bit and not worry about losing too much of the image. But fussy cutting doesn't bother me anymore. It used to. I used to dislike it, but I got in a lot of practice, and now, oh, I already cut that, and now I actually kind of enjoy it. Still prefer die cutting, but all right, so I will likely cut off more of this stem. So let's look at this and see. Do we want to layer these under? And maybe it would make sense right here if I send my sentiment strip across this way. It can kind of be a base behind that sentiment. Or, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go with that. No or. No or. I'm liking this idea. Okay. Let's finish fussy cutting. I don't know how many of these I'm going to want. If I had more time and I wanted to get really fancy, I would probably cut out the inside of this also. I would poke a hole with a piercing tool and then wiggle the tips of my scissors in there so that I could cut the inside of the leaf out, but I'm not going to bother with that tonight. And this is the one that is got that damaged spot, so I definitely want to tuck and hide that one. The other thing I do with a lot of the cards that I make is scrapbook.com a while ago started a nonprofit group called Cards for Kindness, and they take card donations and they work with various organizations around the country to give cards to various groups. So like maybe a foster care group will request cards for foster children, or recently they just had a request for cards from a group that supports deployed military. I know there's a lot of groups that support families who have had children who have passed away, but they take all kinds of things, birthday cards. I'm about to send in some Valentine's Day cards. Hopefully those will get there in time. But even if it's out of season, they hang on to them for the next season that rolls around the next year. But they work with a lot of organizations across the U.S. to get cards into the hands of people who could use some cheering up. So I am very much about helping out community. It matters a lot to me, so I participate in those projects as much as I can. Okay, I think I'm just going to use 3 because the rule of odds is a very good rule that I like to follow when it comes to design. Let's see, I'm going to peek at your comments. A bud, yeah. We're going back to trying to figure out those stencils. Okay, so I have a choice here. If I'm going to pop this up, do I want to leave those flat? You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to definitely cut this out. And I think I will leave 2 of them flat and then attach one behind my circle to have it popped up. And that will add more dimension. Let's see if we can overlap these somehow maybe. Let's grab some foam. Is that too big? Nope, it's not too big. So we'll stick that. Let's see, I'll stick it this way so that I have room on the edge to tuck and glue this piece. Okay, now I think I will glue it right there, and then we'll this one needs glue on the front side because it's going to attach. Okay, I haven't got my sentiment yet, but I'll probably nestle it on the top of this leaf, and then we'll see where we want those in a minute. Maybe we want to split the difference with these. Do one up there and one down there. I think I like that. Add some balance to a diagonal flow. All right, I am going to grab my spellbinders. Let's see, best wishes, there's that sentiment. Good vibes, happy day, congrats. Let's see. I think I'm going to go with best wishes just because that's a little bit more of an all occasion sentiment. Could be for birthday, could be for anything sad that's happened. So I think that will work. Now, color for this. Do we want to add more of this bold color? I don't think, I think that would be too much of a distraction from the flower. What if, let's look at if I've got a green or a yellow piece of scrap cardstock. I think that yellow will blend in with the leaves. Let's cut it out and see what I think after that. And then take a look at our time. I think we're doing okay. Almost done. Okay, let me mute you one more time. All right, I've got my audio back on. I just tossed this and I was wondering if anybody else is a die tosser or if you are more particular with your pokey tool to get things out. I do both. I try with the throwing it on the table first before I move to my pokey tool, but I definitely use that trick all the time. Okay, let's see how the balance of all this is. I like to overlap pieces as much as I can, so getting the leaf to kind of flow off the edge. And then I'm going to give it a little more dimension by doing the ribbon curl method, and I'm using my fingernail on the back side to scrape the paper, kind of break up those fibers and get it to curl. And if I do it on the back side, then I'm not scraping off too much of that foil. All right, so there's that. Let's get, how do we want this one to sit? I kind of like that because you can see it peeking. That'll give me a little bit of a gap to put the sentiment. So let me go ahead and attach this one. And is this one gonna sit? So again, I want to try and get it to sit off the edge on this side a little bit. And then we'll glue this one down. I was going to tuck it under that way. I'm going to need to clip it a little bit more because it is hitting that foam underneath there. There we go. Let's see, I think I like that. Let's go ahead and zhuzh these leaves. Okay, that's looking good. Now, do I like the sentiment in yellow? I think it works pretty well with these shades of green, so I'm going to do that. Now, part of me wants to die cut stack it, but well, you know what? We have a little time. I'm going to die cut stack. Because it's a little wobbly, and because I want to drape it off the edge of that circle, I want to have a little more stability to the die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut this probably just 2 more times, and then we can glue all that together. So of course, if you need to go and you don't want to stick around to watch me die cut extra pieces, I totally understand. And if you're watching on replay, you can always use the YouTube feature where you can speed it up so that it doesn't take an hour and a half for a project. So I love that feature on YouTube, and I use it myself a lot. All right, I'm going to mute you again, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, those die cut nicely. And then I will show you my favorite stacking die cut tip for gluing things together. And I'm just going to use a scratch piece of paper that I cut off. And then before we do that, we need to make sure all of our dropouts pop out of these letters because we don't want to glue them in place. Sometimes if you just kind of flick it with your finger, yep, that worked. They'll all pop out. Nope, that one didn't want to pop out, so it just depends on how moody they're being. Nope, that one's being moody also. Okay, and then those ones were already ready to go. Okay, so gluing. I put a puddle of glue on something that I'm going to throw away, and then I can dunk it in the glue and then kind of tap it off so it's not squishy. I don't know, I'm trying not to get off camera here. And then I stack them up, and that gives me a little bit of time to slide everything in place. And then I'll add my third layer. And I think die cut stacking is worth it because it adds just that extra touch, and it doesn't take too much longer than it would if you just did the single die cut. Okay, that's better. I like the thickness of that. Okay, let's do our best. Thank you, Lynn. Lynn says it's looking pretty. I think so too. That paper helps. That paper is just gorgeous. It's funny, I'm not a huge flower person in terms of using them on projects, just because I do so many. In terms of my scrapbooking, I do a lot of very candid photos, so it's just like of my kids being goofy, or we're just like making a craft at the table, and so the flowers never really seem to fit the mood. But I'm also a gardener, and I love flowers, and I love growing them. I love looking at them. I just don't tend to use them on my projects. All right, that can go away. Let's get our spacing for this. Let's see. I like the W hanging off. Maybe if we line up the right hand edge, we'll justify our title. Oh, I should not have gotten rid of my glue just yet, because we still need to glue it too. And needed a little more glue. We still have to glue it to our project. And then we'll be done for the evening. Okay. Wishes. This is where I'm going to glue it crooked, right? Oh, it looks okay. It's kind of nice filming, because I never realized how great it is to be able to look into a camera to check for things being straight or not. That has been one of the benefits of being a YouTuber. Okay, there we go. I think we are done. Let's grab some sequins, because I also have these sitting here, and we have a little bit of bling from our foiling, so if we add a little bit more bling in other places, it'll help that foil feel a little more cohesive with everything. And Michelle likes stacking dies for sure. Is the paper from the grab bag? Yes, the paper was from the, I had a separate package of pattern paper that I ordered at the same time I ordered the grab bag, because they were doing multiple mystery packages. So the stencils were a mystery package, the paper was a mystery package, and then the box was a mystery package. So they were 3 separate grab bags, but I added them all to this same project. So I guess the answer is yes and no. You like bling, Michelle? All right, let's get some of these on here. All right, let's add some up here on top, bring them to the forefront. And when I do them, I like to do things in groups of 3, because that is, the rule of 3s is one of those design rules that I come back to again and again. And then I'm going to do 3, 3, and then not 3, 3, 1, and then maybe 2 or 3 down here. And then those groups kind of create a visual triangle around our focus. And it's not showing up very well on camera, but they are here and they look pretty. So 1, and again, I like to try and tuck things and overlap things. 2, let's see, 3, get that one. So do you guys talk to yourself when you craft? Because I kind of narrate my own life half the time when I'm crafting and doing anything really, cooking, talking to the cats. All right, so I will clean this up later, actually. because you guys don't need to watch me do that. So here is our little sequins tucked on there for a little finishing touch. And you can see the shine from that foil matches the yellow, our sentiment, when it catches the light. And that all kind of blends in with the colors we chose for the leaves. So there we go. That is our finished project. All right. I hope you guys, let me come back to my face. This is something that I've been forgetting to do. I hope you guys enjoyed the project. Oh, Meg, we have Meg there. Hi. Thank you for mentioning that. I have terrible vision. I just went to the eye doctor today and it's gotten even worse, so I need new glasses, and trying to see who's over there commenting. Your teeny tiny faces are there and I can barely read the text, so I'm doing my best. All right. I have not been chopped. Well, thank you. I am pleased with how it came out. Sometimes the projects are okay. Sometimes they're beautiful. So this was fun as usual. I want to thank you guys for being here. Hi, Meg. Thank you for being here. Sorry I got your name mixed up there. So yeah, this is my Mystery Box Makes series, and this is what I do once a month. I pull out those crazy supplies and see what we can do. And it all worked out well this time. So I hope you will join me next month. And again, let me grab that date for you. So moving forward, we will be here on the third Wednesday of every month. So February will be the 18th. And I hope you guys had fun and that you'll join me next month. So I'll say goodnight. It's my dinner time. I want to go do that. And also the cat's dinner time. All right, guys.